This is the Hope Not Note podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by note.
I'm Dr. Dylan Caswell.
And I'm Brandy.
And we're here to bring you out of the note and into hope.
Welcome to the Hope Not Note podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. This episode is all about rucking. It's not new, but I feel like it's just on the trend of the world right now, and a lot of people are talking about it. And so I was eager and excited when we had a question asked. Danny asked, I keep hearing about rucking and the need to ruck for longevity purposes. Is that true? And what are the benefits for rucking?
First benefit, Danny, is it's fun to say.
Ruck.
Go ruck.
Go ruck.
Just did a really hard ruck.
Yeah.
Like there's like,
I'm a tough cookie.
I don't know, it has that like grittiness to it, like just from that word. But let's kind of rewind and just start with what is rucking for people who may have never heard of it before.
I was going to ask that.
Because it's becoming more and more popular, more and more people are doing it, and when things become more popular, then the language around it becomes like, you have to be doing this. And there's almost this like FOMO, like fear of missing out, of not doing the thing that's going to create longevity, and that you have to do it because everybody's doing it. So what is rucking? Well, I want to start with where the word comes from. And I was thinking of this, and I'm like, man, we should have called up our little German friend, baby, and have her say the word, because it comes from, so backstory, we have friends that they're married, and now they have two babies. And she grew up in Germany, and now their baby speaks both English and German. And we were hanging out, and the baby said bye to us in German, and I didn't know what she was saying. She gave us the meanest look.
She was so upset that we did not know
that we did not know that was speaking German. It was so cute. But the word ruck comes from the German word, which I'm going to say in English, which is rucking, Rucken, but that's not how you pronounce it with a German language.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to attempt to do it, because I will do it poorly.
We are not German, nor do we speak it.
I wish I had it on play, like boom, hit it. And you know what? I'm going to try it. Rucken.
Perfect.
Something like that. But that term means basically what it translates to is the back, or like backpack, or something on the back. So we shortened it in English to ruck. And then if you're doing something with something on your back with a verb, then we'll call it rucking. So that's the idea of why it's called a ruck.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I never would have known.
Yeah. So where does it stem from? It really stems from military training. And partly it's because this is what they need to do to complete a mission. Load up a heavy backpack, anywhere 30 to 60 pounds, carry radios, equipment, all the things that you need. Go walk for miles over mountains, set up for the mission, make the call in, get the mission done, load up the pack again, and then walk back. So rucking became, one, it's essential in the military for military personnel, especially for special warfare officers, which we're working with now, and we see like how heavy these packs are and how heavy these radios are and the terrain that they have to move it through. So it became part of military training, of building more fitness through rucking, because it's what they need to do for their specific activity. It's similar to a football team having their skill players doing a bunch of sprints, because that is what they need to do in order to be successful for the activity at hand. So it kind of evolved in the military training. And then there's this company called Go Ruck that the owner is Jason McCarthy. He served in the military. I think he was a Green Beret in the Army, and is the owner of the company Go Ruck, in which they make ruck packs, they put out rucking workouts, and explain the benefits of rucking. So it's just become more and more popular. And I'm going to dive into like what are the benefits are of it, and to answer your question, Danny, of like, do I need to be doing this for longevity? But I kind of want to pause and go down this lane a little bit of, we tend to see that when things are done in the military, workout wise, and I think it's really like workout wise that we see this a lot, mental fortitude I'll put in there as well, but we see it being done in the military. So then the perception is that like, oh, we should all be doing this.
Mm.
And I think it's because it's like pretty cool. There's like an edge to it.
Mhm.
But I'll say a lot of the things that the special ops that we're working with, the physical demands that are on their body and the training that they have to put into it, it's no different than a professional athlete. And what they're doing, it's not meant for longevity.
No.
Like if what they were doing was meant for longevity, we wouldn't be there because they would be feeling great
Yeah.
with what they're doing and
We would be out of a
would be
job.
out of a job because like
Yeah.
they're not training to have amazing physical movements in their 80s.
Mhm.
We are trying to help them with that. That, hey, when you retire from this unit or from the military, that like we can do some things to keep you feeling good throughout the rest of your lifespan. But their workouts are not set up in a way to make them feel as good as they can right now. It's set up to make them combat ready.
Mhm.
And there's a difference
Yeah,
with
combat's not
those.
about longevity.
No, it's about can you get the mission done?
Mhm.
And if you can get the mission done successfully, you have longevity in the sense of like you got the mission done, so you get
You
to
didn't get blown up.
get out of the harm's way.
Yeah.
But like that's the longevity. So just because something is done by a special warfare group does not mean that's the best thing
Mhm.
to be doing in the general population for longevity.
Mhm.
Now, that being said, there are some pieces we can pull from it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't need to be that exact thing. That fair?
Yeah, I think just to like reiterate, if you're looking for longevity, do not copy workouts that are like intense, like super, super intense, similar to what we see in the military. It's really like that simple if the goal is longevity. Now,
Right.
if your goal is to like, I want to train as if I'm in the military for my 20s or my 30s, that's completely different. Like, if
Yeah.
you want to take a decade of your life and train that way, great, but know that that's not in pursuit of longevity.
Right. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I'll just to use this example of recently I think it was at Tufts University. But anyway, they had some military members come in and run a workout, and it was just high intensity. It's the workouts that they do.
Hmm.
But they brought it to this high level college lacrosse team, and what ended up happening, 12 of the players got rhabdo. Why?
Whoa.
Because they weren't ready for that level of intensity. And again, the workouts that they're doing to be combat ready are not geared at longevity.
Explain rhabdo real quick.
So rhabdo is where you work at an extremely high intensity, and the you start to run out of these fuels that your body can use, and it starts to break down muscles, and it starts to really it can start to damage the kidneys from the
Mm.
filtering. So it is it's a very painful condition. Um, it can be scary. We see it in CrossFit a bit, not in general CrossFit, but at like high level
Hmm.
competition. But the body starts breaking down muscles to try to use it as a source of energy. The kidneys are trying to filter it, and it's a tough condition. It's like you rest and you're out of it, but it's not comfortable
Hmm.
when you're in it. A few of the players were hospitalized, but they end up being okay like afterwards.
Hmm.
But it's it's hard. In fact, when I was working with the CrossFit medical team at an Eastern Regional years ago, one of the male athletes after day one started to have some signs of rhabdo, ended up having rhabdo, went to the hospital, and got cleared that morning to come back and
Whoa.
elected to continue to compete. So like mental fortitude ended up being like okay through the rest of the weekend, but like when it came to Sunday and the last event was over, like he was he was gone. He was
Yeah.
like back in getting treatment because
Hmm.
like we're all a little like, oh man, like are you sure you want to compete? Like
Yeah.
this is not a good thing. But
Yeah. Rhabdo's intense. And
yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. And again, like competing at a high level
Mhm.
is not meant for health
Right.
and longevity.
Yeah.
Like,
So the some of the athletes at that university got rhabdo
mhm.
from doing military workout.
Yeah.
And they weren't rucking. They were doing like more of the like intense
Yeah,
stuff,
I don't know
but
exactly what they did. I'm just assuming it was very high intensity, a lot of like push-ups, partner carries, like all those types of things. But it was like them giving like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we train. Like we're gonna
mhm.
give it to you guys because you guys are tough and we're gonna push through mental fortitude. And yeah, no, there's a physical barrier
Yeah.
that you will reach if your body has not been prepped for that level of a stressor. So again, like just because it's being done in a high level military operating group does not mean that it's the best thing for the general population.
Mhm.
But again, we can take pieces of that and go, huh, yeah, there's some benefit in that. And to that point, there are a lot of benefits in rucking. One of the benefits is that you're carrying a heavy pack and you're walking for a while.
Mhm.
Great functional movement, should that ever have to happen for
Mhm.
you. And I think uh, parents that are having like new kids
Mhm.
and they're, wanting to go out in community and do stuff, like they're basically rucking
Yeah.
as they're
Just
carrying
with a
their
baby.
babies.
Yeah.
And I also look at it that way of like, oh man, for like the new moms and new dads of like, pushing in the stroller is a great exercise, but like get a little pack and put the baby in it and
Hmm.
like go for like a rock instead of pushing the stroller, like awesome. Like
Yeah.
great workout. But again, so what are the benefits for it? You have a heavy pack on your back and you're walking. So you're loading, you're increasing bone density because of the loading and some of the impact that you're putting into the ground. The other proposed benefits is that it's a high cardiovascular demand. And the reason being is that when you have a ruck pack on, and right, a ruck is like a backpack, a vest, the weight's dispersed throughout the trunk, but in a ruck pack, it's all in the back. But anytime you're wearing a vest or a ruck, it's harder to breathe,
Mm.
right? It's harder to get a good breath in. Your cardiovascular system has to work harder because it's harder to expand because of the equipment that's taking up the space there. So there's a higher cardiovascular demand. There's bone mineral density that's being developed from the impact of it over and over. There is a lot of core benefits that you can get from this. If you have a pack that's heavy and is weighting you back, you need to flex forward a little bit in order to counteract the force of the back pulling you back this way.
Hmm.
So it becomes a really great, I mean, the whole core, but a really great frontal ab type
Hmm.
of exercise from fighting against that force. Vice versa, if you want to strengthen the back, put the pack on the front so it's out in front of you.
Hmm.
And a lot of our moms that listen are like, yeah, or just be pregnant.
Yeah.
Because like you get that weight out in front of you, now your back has to be the counterforce to the weight out in front of you to hold you up.
Hmm.
And then, maybe for some newlyweds or whoever's like, hey, we're thinking about having kids, like great training.
Yeah.
Get the ruck on the front part, strengthen the low back, and get ready for
Hmm.
the changes that are going to be happening with your body coming down the road in that third
Sure.
trimester where things really start to take off on the front, the anterior side. So benefits with bone density, benefits with cardiovascular, benefits with core. And then the last one I'll throw in there is that, well, I'm going to throw in two more. One being that it is less impact than running.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I don't know, I feel like there's so much like fear mongering and demonizing running because of the impact that it creates.
Mm.
Well, we need impact, and our joints don't just wear away with impact.
Hmm.
Our joints get stronger. You do a bout of impact movement, you give yourself the appropriate time to recover, which ends up being about a day up to 2 days, and your cartilage, your joint qualities, they all improve.
Hmm.
And this is at any age. It's not like you get older and all of a sudden your cartilage stops adapting. It continues to adapt with the stressors that you place upon it. So there is this debate being made that rucking is safer for you for longevity because it doesn't wear down your joints like running would. And I just I can't get on board with that.
Yeah.
Like running is a great activity, and that impact that it can create if dosed correctly for that individual is incredibly beneficial.
Mhm.
And it's one of my favorite studies. We reference it quite often, but in postmenopausal women, they found that impact activity actually helped regrow some patellar cartilage and had a better quality compared to people who weren't doing type activity.
Mhm.
So like we do not need to be afraid of running across the lifespan. It is one of the best activities
Yeah.
that you can do for longevity. The cardiovascular demands, the impact activity that you're getting for your bones and for your cartilage. Like running is not a bad thing.
Mhm.
Rucking can be a nice supplement or a nice switch up. Or if you're rehabbing a lower joint issue, whether it be your knee, ankle, hips, and you're not able to tolerate the force of running, but you want to keep a cardiovascular demand and you still want to get some impact, rucking is a great alternative
Mhm.
for that. So again, it can live in this component of being like, hey, I'm going to go for a run earlier in the week and then later I'm going to do rucking because they are a little bit different than each
Mhm.
other. Or it can be a segue or bridging the gap of returning to running and keeping cardiovascular demands high.
Mhm.
The last thing I'll put in there is just from a neural component of doing something challenging and just the mental fortitude of going like, I just carried a 50-pound pack for 2.5 or 3 miles, and that was pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Right? So like there is the component of the mental fortitude of doing something that's challenging and
Mhm.
completing it, but again, to your standards, not to a special warfare operating unit's standards
Mhm.
for what they have to do for very high demanding missions and jobs.
Sure. When I think of longevity and like the perfect recipe for longevity, I always go back to like impact. So like running or jumping, plyometrics, like anything like that. And I go back to strength training.
Yeah.
And so like if you're looking for longevity and just again saying what Dylan said, but in a different way, just to hear it from a different voice, like if you're looking for longevity, those are the things that you should be doing,
Hmm.
correct? Like you should be jumping, quickly moving, running, and you should be strength training. All that to say, you don't necessarily want to be jumping every single day of your life
Yeah.
because you do need recovery. And rucking could almost be like a zone two recovery for some people if you build it up properly.
Hmm.
And it's just a good like supplemental movement should you choose to do that. Now, I'm a big like don't waste your money on something. And so I personally like I have so many backpacks. I used to coach basketball, so I had a basketball backpack. I have like my travel backpacks, all that. I honestly think that I would like get a backpack first, put a couple books in it,
Yeah.
and see how I feel about it like over a week or two. And then if I really think like this is my thing, then maybe I'd get like an actual ruck pack. But I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think like you need to go it's gonna the weight's gonna be distributed a little bit different obviously if you have books in a backpack versus like the actual rock, but I don't know, just an idea, like if you're curious about it, why don't you do that, test it out a couple times, see if you want to pursue that and do it more often.
Hmm.
um I don't know, just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that up because I'll add in another benefit of rucking is that it's cost effective.
Mm,
You don't have to pay a gym membership. You don't have to have $100 ruck pack to do it. I think it's really cool when people own a company and they sell the product, but they're also like, hey, you don't like you can use the backpack.
mm-hmm.
And I think that's just it's really cool to see that because it's like, no, like you can load up a backpack and like what do you need in order to do it? A backpack, some objects you can put in that pack, and an area that you can walk in.
Yeah.
And I'm aware that there's some areas that like there's still a barrier to walking
Mm-hmm.
as this like safety reasons where some people may live. But out of like the other options that are out there, this is like a very cost effective way. You don't
Yeah.
have to pay for, I don't even think there's like a rucking gym that you would
Right.
go to unless it's like, I don't know, near a mountain and they have like different trails that you can
Mm-hmm.
go on that may exist, or it's a business idea for someone. We'll take 1%. Thank
Yeah.
you.
It could also be like a fun run
A
club,
fun
but
run
like
club,
usually
yeah.
you don't, or ruck club
Mhm.
rather, but like usually you don't pay for like being part of these clubs. They're just like community based, which is cool, and we
Yeah,
like that. But
yeah, yeah. So it's an easy. I don't want to say easy. It's there's not a huge barrier to entry
mhm,
for this activity where something like CrossFit, it's a pretty expensive membership and like getting to the place, it's difficult for some people. So this is an easy way to get some really great physical fitness in and can be part of what you're already doing if you're already
mhm,
walking. We're in the stage of life where we have a lot of friends that are married and now having kids, and they happen to be a lot of fitness moms
mhm,
or like athletic moms that are like, hey, I want to get back into like some fitness here.
mhm,
And so we talked about like, hey, you can have a pack and have the baby in there, but also if you're using the stroller, you can put a backpack on as you're pushing the stroller,
mhm.
keep the same distance around the block, but now you're getting even more of a benefit of
Yeah.
it. There's times that I mow the lawn wearing a vest.
Yeah.
Just again, I'm not walking, I'm like on the riding mower, but I'm wearing the vest just to get some spinal compression, like further core stability
Mhm.
while doing it. I'm like, I'm already doing this, so like, why not get a little bit more fit
Yeah.
while doing it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we hope that that answers your question. Anyone else that is interested in rucking, I hope that this episode helps. I also want to say that if you ruck, I'd love to hear about like what that experience is like for you
Mhm.
because rucking is something that um I wouldn't say that we do regularly. Like we'll wear vests while running, but we don't like have a ruck pack. But when we were in Italy or whenever we go hiking like in the Adirondacks and have a backpack on, it's like it adds it adds to it. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
Hope stories?
Let's go for it.
Awesome. My hope story is really simple. I was talking with someone recently, and they were sharing that their mother had recently turned 100 years old or
Oh,
102 years old. So it's over 100, which is like awesome.
longevity.
Longevity. Talk about longevity. And I just was like, wow, that is, so cool. And this person was like looking for, fitness and advice, and they were 70. And then they just go, my mom played tennis until she was 90 years old.
Wow.
And I just was like, well, you have another 20 years left in you. Let's get going because it was just really cool to hear one that like there's still life, like as a 70-year-old to still have your mother alive and like
Yeah.
crushing it. Like that is so cool. But then also that your mom like played tennis into her 90s, like that goals.
Yeah.
Just simply like goals. Like that is so awesome. And I love that it was tennis because tennis is active and you move a lot and there's just a lot to tennis and it's you know, not to be whatever, but it's one thing to say like, oh, I rucked in my 90s or oh, I went for walks in my 90s, but to like be playing an actual sport and clearly a sport that like you love and that brings you joy is just like so awesome. And I hope that I can say that, I played basketball or played, catch with a football in my
Yeah.
90s. I mean, maybe I'll join a slow pitch softball league in my 90s or something, but it's just
Yeah.
I love like the game. Like I love that she like went and played like games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my little hope story.
I can see you sliding into second now.
Yeah, as a 9-year-old.
Yeah, head first.
What up?
So my hope story, and again, like when we look at longevity, we hear like 100 years old and it's like, wow, that's incredible. But to us, what's more important is the quality of
Yes.
life with whatever age span that you are able to have,
Mhm.
that is quality that you have during that time.
Mhm.
And it's exciting to hear someone over 100 years old that has like high quality of
Mhm.
life like that. That's awesome. And that's where my hope story comes in. A couple of my clients, they went on a trip overseas. And if you've ever been in Europe or anywhere, like there's a lot of walking that's
Mhm.
associated with like more walking than what you think you're going to
Yeah.
be getting yourself into.
Mhm.
And you're carrying your luggage. So you're basically rucking, right? And it kind of ties in. And that's why I wanted to go with this hope story as we were talking through rucking, is because basically like you travel overseas and you're backpacking, you're rucking. So
Mhm.
rucking is like a great way to prepare for an overseas trip that
Yeah.
you're going to be going on. But anyways, they went on the trip, and we've been working together for a while and have worked a lot on explosiveness and power and strength and endurance. And when they told me they're going on the trip, said, okay, I want you guys, like, they walk every day, and I want you to start climbing stairs more, because like the path they're going to be going on, there's going to be stairs, and just want you to be ready. But again, we're doing a lot of power stuff. How quick can their muscles contract for balance? And so we've been doing a lot of that work. And they got back, and the first time I got to meet up with them again, they said to me, "We thanked you so many times when we were on our trip." And to be honest, I thought it was like a little bit of sarcasm. I'm like, why were you thanking me on your trip? I'm sure you were. And they said, no, we actually were thanking you because on this trip we saw people that were similar age as us, and they were not physically capable or ready to do the steps that we did. There was a moment that we were getting out of a boat, and the boat started moving, and we lost our balance, but we were able to recover it super fast, to the point that people in the group were like, what do you do? Like, how did you stay upright after that? There was times that they were on a trail, and their foot would get stuck on something, and they would stumble, and they didn't fall. They stayed upright, and they kept going, and they weren't even doubtful of their next step. They weren't really sore after these long days of walking, and it's because of the physical preparation that they put into it. So they thanked me for the work that we've done, and I thank them for actually doing the work.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just telling you what to do. You actually have to do it,
Right.
and you guys are doing it. And for them, it was really cool because they got to see the benefits in the real world of these things happening. And I do think that is the benefit of rucking, of that. Like, if you're going on these trips or you have to carry stuff for a long duration of time, you do the work beforehand, you prep for it, and it makes it more enjoyable when you get to actually do that activity.
I love that story. It makes me remember, like, when we went to Italy and had to like walk around and stuff. Like, we're fit and we do CrossFit, but we also like got hit with the plague basically when we got there. We don't know what it was. Could have been COVID, could have been the flu, whatever. But like when we got to Italy on our honeymoon, we were beat up and walking around, and it was a struggle for us. And so it makes me happy to hear that these people that you work with, one, got to enjoy their trip, but that they did it with movement freedom.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
that should be the goal at every single age. And it's cool that like we at Hope Not Nope get to empower people and lead them to have movement freedom at all ages.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best part. And it's like, you hear those stories, and it's like, when people understand, like, this is why you're having me do this exercise that I do not enjoy doing. Like, yes. And now they're like, okay, now I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm willing to do it. So it's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for tuning in. We will have an episode for you next Wednesday as well. So thank you so much.
Have a great week, and remember, every day is not just a day to be hopeful, but an opportunity to become hope.
The Hope Not Nope podcast is meant for educational, informational, and personal development purposes only, and does not constitute any health or medical advice. If you're looking for specific advice, connect with us to work with a Hope coach. The Hope Not Nope podcast shall not be liable or responsible for any loss or damage allegedly arising from any information or suggestions in this podcast.